That's my cousin. This panel is called Crossing Boundaries in Academia, Hip Hop as a Global Connector. My name is Toki, Wright. We also have Olmeca and AirLoom Beats here. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. And actually, I'm gonna give a little bit of a bio first, and then I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. And I also figured as a sacrificial poet, as they say. Here we go. Scatter my seeds, travel with loose sleeves. Who leads, who follow tomorrow ain't something that they promising. Bodily motions like bottles of potion with. I dream a genie in, brand new ingredients, so you can see me in. Living colors with ivory, ebony brothers, 70 of us who travel the globe, still standing alone, a man of my own till a new habit is formed. Can't handle me though. It's just a promo or promotion of the positive. That's my prerogative. Baby, I gotta live. You wanna die while you lie in insecticide, try to electrify minds when I testify. Junior high grind was after school dance status, cafeteria lights low and white smoke. That's the mystery, the in the end is victory when we don't even get a chance to learn our history. Penning between the lines, trying to write the relevant own chapter in my book, African American. Who am I? Where am I? What'll I be? Black skin covered with a case of poison ivy. Penning between the lines, trying to write the relevant own chapter in my book, African American. Who am I? Where am I? What'll I be? Black skin covered with a case. Can't trust it like a colonist's promises. No sense in arguing, everything is obvious. We on the Amistad, wrote it in my middle passage. Locked in the boat's dungeon, we carry no baggage. Soul status, Cro-Magnon, same old standards. Bleach skin on Africans so we can fit in. The outfit is Auschwitz, black genocide, war of the civilized. Minds kill you 20 times. Across the globe, y'all know how it go when the po folks realize the signs of the times. When the po folks realize the times and get wise. And the po folks start to organize like the I and I. Fight for the right to write what I like. And I fight like I'm holding on my last breath of life. Who am I? Where am I? It's a mystery. Pens on my notepad. I'm trying to trace my history. Much appreciated. We have here a panel that delves into the global impact and opportunities created by hip-hop ambassadors, artists, educators, and cultural leaders who bridge communities across borders, highlighting their work at the intersection of hip-hop, higher education, and diplomacy. This discussion is about examining how ambassadors use the culture as a powerful tool for fostering cross-cultural understanding, education, and social change on a global scale. AirLoom Beats is a Brooklyn-based beatboxer and educator who has been featured in Elle magazine and on BET. Working with various organizations, she facilitates professional development workshops and classes in beatboxing, loop station, song production, and hip-hop culture with special needs populations and participants of all ages within the tri-state area. When AirLoom is not teaching, she is collaborating with New York's theater, improv, and hip-hop communities, incorporating her melody-driven beatbox style into original music for plays, media content, beatbox battles, and improvised performances. Give it up for AirLoom Beats.
Hold on. Check, check. Okay. Just let me do my thing. Just want to do my thing. One with this feeling. Who knows what it brings? Thank you. Little sample.
Yes, indeed. Noisy magazine states Olmeca is a shaman of the 21st century with vast experience in the unknown, an artist directly responsible for rap and Spanglish being a thing today. A descendant of the Tepehuan people of Mexico. You gotta add, don't disrespect, all day. Olmeca was born in LA, a reality that brewed his artistry and identity. His artistry explores the complexities of radicalized America, Latinx figures, indigenous diaspora, generational trauma, and the notion of belonging. Give it up for Olmeca.
Check, check, check. Well, in the spirit of sharing, can everybody hear me? Yeah. All right. So I was gonna do a new verse. I was practicing the other day. I kept walking out. Oh, for the video. Damn. There's gotta be a way to do that. Yeah, I was walking out trying to practice this verse, but given the conversation and thinking about legacy, thinking about history, thinking about elders, thinking about ancestral knowledge, I'm going to pull an old one. It's called Pieces of Me. And I did this verse because it was the first time I was going to perform in Madison, Wisconsin. The first time, really, I was going to perform for a crowd that was not predominantly black or brown. And so I figured the best thing for me to do is literally tell them who I am before anything else. And so I did this verse. And so what I asked them is what I'm going to ask you to do also, which is anytime you feel any type of connection to the things that I'm saying, I want you to stomp your feet, clap your hands, make noise so that we know that we're connected on that. Don't worry. Please don't snap your fingers. I get that's a thing for poetry. But being an MC, being from LA, being from the hood, and being Mexican means that if you snap your fingers, you're in trouble. So, trauma. So if y'all snap your fingers, I'll probably just pause. It's like, So feel free to make noise. Feel free to make noise as you feel connected, all right? So here it goes. I didn't come from a broken home. Instead, just the opposite. A loving family with problems, though. A victim of our surroundings. Our biggest obstacle was lack of education and poverty, forced to do what was needed for a bit of food insecurity. It's hard to see the warmth of my family's love turned into a cold hug because the money problem's unresolved. 2 jobs ain't enough, still they grind harder than most. I'm pissed off at the world because we're now given no choice. But how did we get here? See, our folks were forced out of their country. You must be crazy. No one crosses the desert because they want to. It's a necessity, a sacrifice for the family. You don't call them illegals, you call them economic refugees. In this part of the song, I will tell you, imagine how you felt. But I know you don't need to imagine, because if you've been poor, then you know the feeling real to you and vivid, because you felt it, tasted, smelt it. In other words, you've also lived it. I turned my head away from anger, because it would have been easy to pick up a pistol and bang on the ones I thought were responsible. Instead, I dreamt in Spanish and stared at my hands. I saw the color of my skin, reminded me the days my grandpa said, "Mijo, la cultura cura y la sangre indígena es pura." I stopped talking and suddenly I heard the whispers of the city. "I share your pain," they said. "We also want to be free." So instead of throwing up signs or throwing rocks at buildings, I threw my fist in the air and joined the rest of the children. I could not turn the other cheek because it's easy to forget. but it is hardest to regret. See, I'm not a gangster, I don't bang, I'm not a hustler, I don't slang, but a ghetto kid. That's the reason for my swagger and my slang. I'm not dying for the block, see, I don't own nothing there. But for my people, I'll give my life and work until we win the fight. Hey.
Yes, sir. It's just something about the art being injected into the space that changes everything. And I was having a conversation with someone a little bit earlier about making sure that when we're talking about all of this theory and we're talking about all of this data, that we don't lose the presentation and the performance and the participation of the culture and what we do. What does it mean? No, oh, absolutely, because what drew us to it in the first place, right? What does it mean for you to take your craft to other places in the world? How does it affect you, and then how does it affect the place that you travel to?
I guess I'll take that one first. As a beatboxer, I think I have a very unique experience within hip hop. It's often a forgotten element, and I think that resonates within beatboxer culture as well. There's beatbox culture, and then there's hip hop culture, and I'm sort of in the Venn diagram in between. So when I go to other countries, and I experience the beatbox culture there, really I'm just there to listen and to absorb more. But also, I really want to represent that beatboxing came from hip-hop culture. It originated in Harlem with Dougie Fresh, and we need to continue paying homage to the people that came before us. They certainly, laid down this alphabet of noises that we have taken to a new level. And I think that a lot of beatboxers have forgotten that we're tied to hip hop. I think they think it's more of like an EDM thing, which is also tied to hip hop, but they don't want to think about that. So I think it's really important to represent, like, hey guys, like, let's remember the people that came before us, and also celebrate the strides that all of these other creators in other countries have made using this art form, and to celebrate the culture that they get to express within hip-hop. It's almost like hip-hop is like kind of liquid, and it like takes the shape of the container that it's in. So like listening to Bulgarian beatboxers beatbox in 7/8 sounds completely crazy to me, but that's their culture. And seeing the way that hip hop culture pops up in other spaces, like Poland, for instance. I was speaking to a Polish beatboxer, and he told me that a lot of Polish hip hop heads really resonate with the culture because I think it had something to do with World War II and how people felt that Poland was on Hitler's side for World War II, and they're like, oh, no, we were not on his side. He invaded us and did the thing here, but we were not on his side. And I think they carry that stigma, and I think that that's where their hip-hop comes from, is this need to release the stigma that came from World War II. And my residency in Argentina, I was really pleasantly surprised to see the way that they connected with hip-hop culture. Unlike many of the European countries, they are very, very keen to the fact that this comes from Black people. They have a whole room just dedicated to Black faces of hip-hop in the most respectable way. They have them like dancing and like street signs from New York to celebrate that. And yet, in their culture and in their graffitis specifically, you can feel the collective pain from the lost people, those like 30,000 people that got lost in the 60s or 70s. I forget exactly when that happened, but that's very prevalent in their culture, and therefore also really prevalent in hip-hop culture. So although I really want to come in and be like, hey guys, like we really need to represent New York and we need to represent the founders, I also need to take a step back and listen to what has evolved by just mingling these two cultures, there's like this new culture that arises.
Thank you for that. For me, we were talking about the sense of belonging, and for all intents and purposes, right? Being native, also being Mexican, being native from Mexico is a thing in and of itself for Mexicans. Being from the West Coast, being politically driven in my music are three things you don't want to be if you want to be successful in the music industry. It was a conscious choice to do that because I was never really in it for the purpose of becoming, let's say, a successful artist, as much as it was paying homage and giving thanks to hip-hop. Because what hip-hop did for me as a Chicano or as a native person from the West Coast is that it made me feel like I was an American for the first time. And it was a beautiful America. It was an America from the bottom. It was the America that gave us Nina Simone. It's the America that gave us Cesar Chavez. The Nina Simone that gave us Gloria Anzaldúa, Nikki Giovanni. Like, that America I'm okay with. I'm okay with the resistance that happens and how people thrive through culture and identity in America despite opposition of existence. And so with that in mind, I took the idea of why hip-hop was so important to me, the sense of belonging. Okay, cool, now I feel like I belong into something, cool. Why did I feel like I did not belong prior to hip-hop? Oh, racism, politics, capitalism, etc. Then we realized that that's also a global phenomenon. And so then when I go to Mexico and I perform in Mexico, there's a connection between, yes, we're doing hip-hop, but also there's a connection that we are made to feel like we don't belong in the mainstream narrative. And if you feel like you don't belong in that mainstream narrative, then hip-hop totally and absolutely becomes a voice, a tool, a mechanism for you to be able to express that. Because as it's been mentioned in the, earlier in the panels, right, hip-hop provides a space, right, and it allows for everybody. I think it was Jay Ross that said, right, hip-hop accepts everybody, but just don't bite. And so with that in mind, right, if you go to Mexico and I tell people you're into hip-hop and we just keep the conversation on hip-hop, it's dope, but I don't feel like I'm in Mexico. But then if I tell them, or I ask, why did you in Mexico, in this particular state, city, barrio, your family is this, how did you end up in the same place that I did, given that I'm from LA? Right? And so then the connection becomes not just the practice of the artistry, but the purpose of the artistry. And the purpose for me, see, man, y'all with the snapping and shit, it throws me off fucking like crazy. I gotta work through that shit. That's not your fault, that's my fault. Talk about generational trauma, yo, shit. It's playing out right now, I'm sweating. All right. It's like my mom, man, rest in peace. So what it meant for me was being able to connect people not on hip-hop, but first on the reason as to why you're doing it. So then now I went to London, I went to Paris, to Spain, to Honduras, to Ecuador, to Canada, to all kinds of places. And when I perform, I don't just go do my show and bounce. Like what I do with the club promoters is I tell them I want to be in their city at least a day and a half so that I can get there beforehand, meet organizations, meet other artists, talk about their purpose, do my show, and bring some of those folks on stage, which, by the way, I'm going to perform tomorrow, Wednesday at 6:30 for NCORE, and I am 100% going to open it up for a Cypher. So I want to have beats. I'm going to have my own beats. If folks want to bring their beats, cool. MCs, artists that want to get on stage, let's do it, and let's show up in the way that hip-hop shows up. I don't want the stage for myself. I want the stage for everybody that's here. I want Martha to be on stage. And I did tell myself I was going to say her name. Martha, I did tell myself I was going to say your name at least 3 times during this presentation, and there's 2. I already said it twice, so 1 more. All right, yes.
So just to build off of this idea of, and I'm gonna stop saying America, the United States. What has your travels abroad taught you about the U.S. through an education lens and through an artistry lens? Because you know we go to other places in the world with a mindset that always gets confronted by someone else's reality. And I'm wondering if you've had any of those interactions that reflect U.S. education or reflect a certain perspective on artistic work.
I'll immediately one thing comes to mind. I come from South Central. If y'all know South Central, Leimert Park, Chaos Network, Project Blow, The Good Life, Freestyle Fellowship. That's my lineage when it comes to hip hop. So I feel honored that I was able to hold my own in that freaking space. You know what I mean? That's the space. You know that the movie with 8 Mile. You know, literally when people will say, "Please pass the mic" in the middle of your verse. You know, on every Thursday night. So then if you weren't good that Thursday, you literally had to wait a whole week, practice your shit, get back on stage, and hope for the best, you know? So I come from that. But then from that comes innovation. You want to do albums. So now you're thinking with albums, you're not thinking dope flows, you're thinking dope songs. How does one song musically transition to the next? How does your verse transition? Are you telling a story throughout the whole album, or is it just good bangers, you know, that don't really connect? So I got to a point where in my production, I wanted to just evolve musically, right? I want to mess around with 7/8 counts, 6/8 counts and shit. So then you go to Mexico, and it's nothing but ciphering, just ciphers. And it's just 4/4 boom bap beats. And at first, in my mind, I was like, damn, these fools are like in 1990 right now, 2000. I want to hear the innovation. Excuse me. And the more I did that, the more I realized that I was actually dishonoring the legacy. And it wasn't that these folks were moving slow or that they were backwards in any way, shape, or form. It's actually, now moving on to education, is that their education teaches them about eldership. And it teaches them about honoring other people in other cultures, right? And staying true to the forms. So then I found myself being the one that was fake. Like I was like, oh, I want to rap on a 6/8. And they're like, nah, compa, ira, dale pa acá. And, you know, and then so I started kind of reverting back to like the mind state of being in a cypher outside of Leimert Park, outside of Project Blow at Leimert Park, and all of a sudden it felt like home again. So this idea of moving fast and moving up and moving to the top and being successful, that kind of language is also the thing that perpetuates colonialism. It's the thing that perpetuates capitalism, and it's the thing that perpetuates the commercialization of hip hop. Right?
Was a great answer. I had to think on this a little bit more because a lot of times when I'm at these beatbox events, I'm in a bubble, so I'm not sure if what I'm experiencing is something that beatboxers do or whether it's something that's like happening in the culture at large. And then also, I think in a lot of these spaces, there are not a lot of women, and there's certainly not a lot of women of color. So as soon as I pop up in the space, they don't know how to act. Like, they really don't know how to relate to me or have conversations with me, unfortunately, sometimes. But one thing that I was reminded as Olmeca was talking, during my residency in Argentina, I had the privilege of being able to go to a beatbox battle. Coming from New York and the United States, we have a lot of energy at these battles. The crowd is very much a factor in these battles. People are very, very vocal. We're all beatboxers, so everybody wants to make noise. But when we were in Argentina and there was this beatbox battle, it was happening in a monastery, in a room that was dedicated to hip hop, right? Beautiful room in Recoleta, if you guys get a chance to visit. They have a whole room dedicated to hip hop. And while they were battling, everybody was neatly seated on the ground. Like, people were like, like crisscross applesauce watching this battle. And I was in the back like, yeah, let's go. Like, people were like, what is wrong with it? I was like, what, y'all don't cheer over here? Like, what? I was like, did you not hear that? Like, I was like, did you not hear this beatboxer? What you just did was incredible. So, like, just understanding, like Argentina, like I said, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that they had that much respect for the culture, and that when there are beatboxers that are beatboxing, people are silent because they want to listen, they want to hear all of the nuance, and they let their beatboxers have a moment. Beatboxers here in the United States, we won't let you do that. We won't let you do that. We will egg you on and cheer you on. And if there's like a silent crowd, that's not really a great sign, to be honest. So I guess I learned that. And again, I'm not sure if that's just my culture being an American or whether that's my culture being a New York person. I think that that's something that I get the privilege to experience in New York. We get to go to hip hop battles, and there's so much energy. So when they're doing this in other countries, they don't have that energy there. They're discovering their own energy. But yeah, they do take the time. They even had this event called, I think it was I think it literally called it Mama Africa. It was something like that, and it was just a whole night dedicated to playing music by Black people, and there was not a Black person in that whole room, you know? But I'm like, at least they're making an effort to be like, we're respecting them. I mean, you can't conjure the Black people if they're not there, you know? And they're holding a space where they can be respected. So it's interesting that I can see people of color being so well respected in other countries, and ... I don't even want to finish that.
Yeah, you know, it is pretty fascinating to experience how other people experience hip hop. If all the artists in the room who've ever gone to a city that you've never been in before, or you're doing a college gig versus doing a club gig, and you see how people respond to the artistry differently, and from the stage having to make a decision how you're going to respond. Like, do I respond like, y'all gonna get into it or what?
Dude, keep doing you, cause like, for example, like in Madison, when I did that show, it was like predominantly white kids, dude. But there was like 700 people there, and half of my shit's in Spanish. So I was like, all right, well, these kids are here. They must want to hear it. They're going to get extra credit probably from their professor, so I was about to make it worth it or something, you know? But I started rapping, and I saw lips of people that knew the song. So I realized that I was there not as an educator as much as I was there just as an artist. It just happened to be at UW-Madison. So I was at a hip-hop show more than like a, let's say, an educational space. But it spoke to... It spoke to the beauty of hip-hop and how I wouldn't have said what's up to any of them cats if I would have just been walking, you know, down the street or something, right? My assumption would have been that they're not into it or something like that. And it also, so going out of your own space, right, not even just globally, but just going out of your own space, can see where you have your own gaps, you know, where you're missing the mark on certain things, right? Because the world isn't the United States. And a lot of us know that very clearly because we have not been accepted, right, in this. So then what does that mean for us? That means that we not only create our worlds, but we actually maximize our worlds, right? And we connect our worlds. Is anyone familiar with the Zapatista movement? Zapatista movement, yeah? Make some noise if you know about the Zapatista movement, all right? The Zapatista movement is a predominantly indigenous movement that started in 1994 in Mexico in the southeast state of Chiapas. They not only went against the Mexican government, but more so, they fought for their own self-autonomy, right? So it's about autonomy and self-sustainability, how to retain, maintain, and grow indigenous culture, traditions, and so on. And we all know that you cannot do that in a space in other words, if you don't challenge powers of system and control, then you won't get to the idea of practicing your own culture and traditions, right? Because this world is telling us you cannot do that. You need to assimilate. You need to consume. You can't be your own. You have to be just like everything else, right? So the Zapatista movement now controls 3/4 of a state in Mexico. So imagine California is 3/4 of it is sovereign territory. Okay, think about it like that. That is real, and that exists in Chiapas and its indigenous communities. They speak Chol, they speak Tzotzil, they speak Celtal, they speak Toholabal. For most of us, that's Mayan, right? We'll say, oh, they're Mayan people. But they will never say they're Mayan. They'll say they're Tzotzil, Celtal, Toholabal, etc. Now imagine you going to that space. Okay, this is a revolutionary space. This is a space where you're going to see a Red Star. You're going to see Che Guevara. You're going to see, revolutionaries from the past. You'll see Malcolm X. We've taken the Black Panther Party. We took Emory Douglas, or at least You see what happens? You see Emory Douglas, Black Panthers, Zapatistas, hip hop. Martha Diaz. Run! We will.
Condition in the building next door to ours. It is not in directly affect the hotel. We will update you with any further information.
I don't know. I'm black.
Hey, no, for real. They said, they said something's crazy is happening right next door, but you guys are okay. Don't worry about it. Don't go check. You're asking the wrong people to not go check.
So in the interest of time,
Yeah. I won't say no more shit about Zapatismo
Hey,
or Black Panther Party or we'll never finish.
yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, you want to close your thought out?
Finish the thought. Oh, yeah. Oh, so we're in a Cypher. So I did workshops. I did rhyming workshops and hip hop workshops for the youth. Okay, so now let's think critically about this. If you're in a space of indigenous communities who are asking for or demanding and fighting for and fought for with guns for sovereignty, for autonomy, so self-sustainability and maintain their own culture and tradition, really think critically, folks. The one thing that they're allowing in there, okay? The one thing they're allowing in there is hip-hop. It's the culture of hip-hop. Because it's not about the practice of so that you can become the individual greatest rapper of all time, but because they understood and they understand, and because we've done workshops around hip-hop, that they know that hip-hop is more about building community. It's about straining your own folks and making sure that you have a cohesive understanding and collective strength, right? And that so that if you do ask for sovereignty, you demand autonomy or demand racial justice or economic justice or what have you, that you have a collective understanding of what it is that not what you're fighting against, but what you're fighting for. And Zapatismo, indigenous communities have always taught us that we can continuously, when you're in the system and you're within it, we practice the art and rebellion of resisting against, when they are saying your resistance should be about building. Not what you're against, but what are you for? And they allow for new things to come in, right? It's not like we're right? They allow the things that are going to come that will help us build a world where many worlds fit, as they say. That was my thought.
I just want to, yes, and just remind.
It is no longer safe. Run.
For your life. Okay. All right. So Olmeca just ended saying building a world or building worlds within a world or
building a world where many worlds fit.
Building a world where many worlds fit. And that reminds me of something my brother Rubrake said. He's a breaker from Chile. And he said that hip hop is a multiverse. And I think that that is one of the best ways to describe hip hop. And like, I think the only other example of a multiverse that I know is like Marvel. But when I think about all of like the Marvel characters and their own stories and their origins and their superpowers that they bring to save the world, I think that that's something that we could directly connect to hip hop. So I just wanted to mention that, like, hip hop is a multiverse. Multiple things can be true at the same time, just like we said at the archiving panel. And yeah, I just wanted to share that, I think.
Yep. And so we have a few minutes left. We're going to do a little bit of reflection, not only on this panel, but also on anything else that we've discussed today. Are there any things that have come up or questions that are still on your mind that you want an opportunity to pose, or thoughts that you want to pose? Please do speak now.
Hi, so my name is Justin. I find it very interesting, the perspective of standing up, not what you're against, but what you're for. Like, I feel like that leaves a lot of space, like a world where many worlds fit. I've never really thought about it like that. My question, as a current college student from the Bronx, from the South Bronx, like, how do you connect with people who are connected somewhere else? Because there are many aspects of our culture where people burn themselves in that aren't really emotionally intelligent or there, or given the opportunity to be in a space like this where this is being discussed like that, where different perspectives are being had. How do you like open that barrier? Like, for example, you said going to places and doing like freestyle workshops and doing ramen workshops, because I know a bunch of people from my hood that are interested in hip hop but see it in a completely different way and interact with it in a completely different way that some might even argue to be detrimental.
Dang, that's a deep question, man. That's is it okay if I? Yeah. I think this is where the fifth element of hip hop really comes in. I think this is a part where mental health, colonial trauma, things like that come in. You have to use colonial trauma as a phrase, dog. Like, honestly, if you want to connect with people, I think most people are afraid to look within. I think the fifth element of hip hop is like, for real, like knowledge of self is a real thing. I think that I teach at a university, and I teach a hip hop course called Hip Hop and Activism. And the first thing that I do is I ask them if they want to have a midterm. And everybody says no. And I say, that's a really whack-ass like argument. Your argument is whack. Like, I give you a reality right now. I'll give you the opportunity to be honest about what it is that you want. Take it. So to do that, you really have to see within yourself what it is that you actually need, right, for your class. So I would urge you to like begin with yourself, like have a beautiful relationship with yourself, search within you about the things that you actually want for yourself, the things that you're against, yes, but the things that you're for. And within the context of systems of oppression, I would say from that point, you can actually find a ton of people. You'll have 100 people in the South Bronx that are all about hip hop, 10 of them align with your understanding of knowledge of self. And those are the 10 that you want to work with. That becomes your community. That becomes the people that you're willing to struggle with in the future. And those 10 people now are going to do the same thing you did, and it'll expand. But don't worry about numbers. It could literally just be you, 2 of y'all, but as long as you're in sync, that's a community, right? Because you have the understanding of what you're for.
The people who created this culture built it out of nothing, essentially. They built it because they had nothing, and that shows you what's possible from just nothing. If you have, like, when I teach my beatboxing classes, what I say is all you need is a mouth and a willingness to participate, right? You have your brain, you have your words, you have your body. You can dictate what you want in your space. You can invite it to come to your space. Instead of searching and discerning, you can claim it and then like stand true in it and understand that people who resonate with it will come to you. There's also a lot of hip hop events in New York. Like there's like legendary Cyphers, Supreme bars. Pick your element. You know, there's like New Blue, there's Producer Mondays, there's a whole bunch of dance events. Pick like of all different kinds. Just like look around, and also, but I think it does start with that knowledge of self. Like, what do you want first? You have to get clear on what you want to see, and then go seek what you want. But there's definitely opportunities for community if you search.
And real quick, I would say if you are trying to travel abroad and find hip hop community abroad, the first question is, do you consider yourself hip hop? If I'm hip hop, I learned a long time ago, if somebody invited me to go overseas, I should probably go. Like, there's something, God sent me something to go over there. So the first time I went to Africa, I went to Rwanda for conflict resolution. And from that experience, I've been able to go back to Africa multiple times about hip hop and conflict resolution and education but since I'm hip hop, I'm always going to interact through that lens. You know what I mean? So, question.
Well,
Quick,
I have
sorry.
one quick thing, and I'll go over there. I would say to just echo what everyone's been saying about not being afraid of creating your own space. For Hip Hop's 50th, the Hip Hop Education Center went into a probation center and said, we want to work with you. And we looked at the space, and I said, okay, we can create a studio here with the young people. And we did that, and while we were creating the studio, we were planting seeds on hip-hop history, and now a couple of those students did a cultural exchange, and now they've blossomed, and they're gonna become leaders, et cetera, et cetera. So just find your purpose, and just don't be afraid to create the space you wanna see.
Thank you for sharing. I am affectionate known to the community as Uncle Bobby, but I'm not artistic that I know of in any kind of way. But I've done sat in 3 of these panels today, and they all have been very informative and powerful, and have introduced me to some aspects that I probably was not consciously aware of, but unconsciously in tune with. So my question is, when I saw Kendrick Lamar do the halftime show, tell me something from your artistic being, anyone, what you got out of that, and what we should get out of that.
I was just thinking about this yesterday. There are a lot of people who are questioning why he was performing all new material. Like, the halftime show is supposed to be like the greatest hits of all of the pop music that you've created. The fact that someone stepped in through this hip hop space with their expectations about what hip hop is going to present and said, I don't care about your rules. I'm actually going to present something differently. My messaging is different than what you may normally understand or accept. And I'm going to present this entire community of people that's with me in a way that you're just going to have to deal with for 15 minutes. So getting the platform and how you utilize the platform when you get there is something that I really took to heart.
I got on, to me, all right. So first of all, Kendrick, right? He's from the West Coast, and his musicians are from Leimert Park, from this place called World Stage. A lot of them come out of that place. So I have like a special, like I don't even think that fool's human, man. Kendrick is on another level. But I do feel like in that meeting with his team, Kendrick Lamar, fucking, right? Hey, they know what they don't want, you know?
We will not be silenced.
We know that. Why don't you interrupt when there is something to worry about, homeboy? All right, so real quick, I believe that in Kendrick's meeting, somebody said, let's actually practice the art of hip hop because you are that representative right now. And if there's no other hip hop artist that comes after this because of what you've done, it's okay because you have literally represented what hip hop is supposed to do, which is inform the population of the shit that they're trying to pull on us. Bottom line, that's what I got from it.
I agree. I mean, once I get past the surface level, like beef, like just unfurlment. And yeah, I was a little disappointed because I wanted to hear like some of my Kendrick favorites, but hearing what Toki said here, it did remind me after I saw that performance that like Kendrick had a chance to do something, so he took it, and he didn't make it just about him. I think he did. He was like, let me set a new precedent moving forward. How many other opportunities are we gonna have to, you know, take over the halftime show like this? So he said, this is my moment. This might be one of the biggest moments I have. Let me take it and see how we can move forward. Inherently, like, fulfilling what hip hop is meant for. I was explaining to someone who's not sitting here anymore. She was telling me that this is her first experience with hip hop education entirely. And I was wondering, I was like, what do you think hip hop means? And she was just like, oh, you know, it's cultures and songs. And I'm like, well, you know, hip hop, when you really break it down, is like the conscious movement forward, right? You're creating something with intent and consciousness to move the community forward. And ultimately, I think that's what Kendrick did with his performance.
Okay.
One piece, y'all, that was good. The thing I want to say about the Kendrick show is that, first of all, I want to give credit where credit is due. Hip hop and black people created the halftime show.
Yes.
The NFL halftime show was non-existent. Yes. There was 15 minutes of commercials, and everybody would talk about the best commercials the next day for the next week. And then Keenan Ivory Wayans and the Wayans brothers, one year, and during Living Color, they did a Living Color show during the NFL halftime at the Super Bowl, and they got more viewers than the Super Bowl. So the next year, the NFL stole the idea. That's first thing. Second thing is Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance. I'm gonna get in my time machine and tell y'all what I saw. In 50 years, Kendrick Lamar's halftime show is going to be celebrated culturally around the world, similar to what happened after Jesse Owens did his performance in front of Hitler at the Olympics. It's also going to be remembered like the black fist at the Olympics. It's also going to be remembered like the Chinese individual that stood with his fist in the air in front of the tanks at Tiananmen Square. Well, we have to realize what we saw. We saw one of the greatest feats of courage and defiance in front of the new possible Hitler. And it will be remembered like that.
Serena Williams doing the
If,
crib walk.
I want to say something with regards to that question and related to the panel. I know with what you're doing internationally, when you see hip hop in another country, there's almost like they're not copying what we're doing. They're locking into, say, the vibration of what hip hop is, and then they're interpreting it their way through their cultural lens, and you're going, oh, wow, and it is hip hop. So you can't expect to predict where it's going because it's non-predictable, you know? And so you just have to absorb it, and when it's authentic, that's what it is. And what I'm getting from this panel is that when you go to another culture and you sit in a authentic hip hop space and it's not familiar to you, you have to expand yourself to go, whatever my idea of hip hop is, it's greater than my experience, and then you get a chance to, to enjoy someone else's experience. And so that's, the question in terms of what is hip hop and how do you affect it. You just got to sit there and let it be what it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is the last question, comment, and then we're heading uptown to see Dr. Khaled's documentary. Yes, there'll be some food, there'll be some drinks. I hope you will join us. It starts at 6:30.
Howdy. My name is Sunflower, pronoun she, her, Caesar, he, him. And my question is about how to use hip hop, the art, as like a coping mechanism in education spaces. I know we talked a little bit about like how to self-care, and like as somebody was a teaching artist doing like theater in spaces, something I heard was like the art can be therapeutic, but this is not therapy. Like we can't open any boxes that we can't close, but I'm wondering what happens when those boxes do open in the classroom. Like, is there a way to use the art, use the practice to actually close the loop in that space?
Absolutely. In my classes, I've used hip hop multiple times to diffuse situations or maybe even transform conflict. We talk. An example that one of my mentors provided for me, he's a breaker. I'm not a breaker, but he was still an amazing hip hop mentor named Wack. He told me when there's students in his classroom and they want to get physical and start fighting, he'll break them up and be like, you guys got to do a dance battle at the end of class. So you get your physical energy out there. Also, I think that as a beatboxer, it's sort of built into the art form. It's breathing, it's rhythmic breathing and regulation. That's why I said earlier, in practicing hip hop, I have the power to change how I feel, right? So it's like, I can feel one thing, but then once I make a certain beat, it's almost impossible not to transform the way that I'm feeling. And I can use that with kids as well. Almost even like I could try to even make it a rhythmic, like let's breathe in, breathe out, like it's rhythm, and also, especially dealing with like younger kids, they might not even have the words to talk about what they're feeling. They just know that they're feeling, and they're like, I don't even know what to do with these emotions. And that's honestly, I think beatboxing really is such an incredible tool to be able to challenge that, or not challenge that, I mean, channel that energy, right? Because sometimes I'll be like, hey, how you doing? And they'll just be like, could you give me a sound for how you're feeling? And they'll be like, pfft. And I'm like, got it. Okay, so I know that that's how you're feeling today, so now I know that you need some extra support, or another example, it's a little bit darker, but for instance, the younger kids, they would love to come up to me, Miss Arabelle, listen to my beat, boo boo ga ga ga. Miss Arabelle, listen to my beat, boo boo ga ga ga. They all do the same thing because they're like 5, right? But I sit there and I listen, wow, oh my God, so good. I could tell you've been practicing so great. I love to hear it. So suddenly, this girl decides to share with me that someone in her home is hurting her. So I think what I showed those kids in that moment is that I'm willing to listen, even if it's just like, right? I'm willing to listen and hold space for that. And in doing that and validating that emotion, it could really do a lot to dissipate the emotion. Because a lot of times the emotion can stay. It can be very sticky because it's not acknowledged. But beatboxing, and I would say almost any hip hop art form, is a really great way to flow through those emotions, and actually, even better, honor the emotions.
Two quick options. One is if they are at a place where they can write and are into long form writing, or you can get them to do some long form writing, ask them 2 questions that they never get asked. which is, who are you and what do you want? It's the I am and I want. And you have them develop short form pieces of work where they can recite who they are. And then the other is just a simple thing that you can add to the fabric of a classroom, which is play beats. You know, it's sometimes sitting there in silence for long periods of time is unhealthy. So give them some rhythm. Like, we're rhythmic people. Depending on you, I mean, we all got something, right? You know what I mean? Like, give them something that's close to their heartbeat so that they can get connected. You know, that's
The only, I guess the only suggestion I can give you is that I would say that with the practice of any element in hip hop, the conclusion is everything's gonna be okay. I really do believe that with hip hop. It made this ghetto ass kid feel like he belonged somewhere, when all I wanted to do was confront and fight and talk, you know what I mean? So with hip hop, really truly, I think if you walk into a space letting them know that whatever you do right now, so long as you practice one of these elements that we're gonna do today, everything is gonna be okay. There's no wrong, and everything that you're gonna share is gonna be beautiful and everyone's gonna wanna hear it.
All right.
Thank you, Martha Diaz.
Thank you, Martha.
No, stop it, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you all for staying and holding space with us.